7 o'clock, I'll let meeting order. We all join in when you leave the flag record. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just a reminder to everyone that's listening, the call-in number for tonight's meeting is 930-8189. 930-8189. Item 3 on our agenda, roll call. Show that Aaron is missing. Item 4, acceptance of the minutes of our December 20th meeting. I have a motion.
Make a motion, we accept them as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the minutes of December 20th meeting as written. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 4-0.
Abstain.
Oh.
Wouldn't hear.
That's okay. 3 with 1 extension. Item 5, acceptance of the agenda.
We will need to have one 11th hour item to decide another workshop. And we do not need items 14 and 15. And that's executive session.
Do I have a motion on the agenda?
Make a motion, we accept the agenda as including the 11th hour. Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to accept the agenda as amended. Any discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Item 6 on the agenda, open to public.
Everybody?
No. Item 7, all business. RFP for reevaluation. James, what do you have there?
We're several years out of the last reval. I believe it was done in 2000 and it's in the paperwork. I guess I shouldn't have gone down that road. It's been more than 12 years. I think it's closer to 14 years. We should reval every 10 years to keep up with the market. It's the state's recommendation and desire that we do that. In fact, if you get too far out of that cycle, they'll order you to reval, which one of our neighbors experienced not too long ago. So we put together a request for proposal. I gave you a copy of it. It's pretty complete. It's been back and forth between the assessor's office and myself several times. And what we're looking for is permission to move forward to put the RFP out in either late January or early February. What we're trying to do is make the return date somewhere near the town meeting, either just before or just after. It wouldn't really matter. But that way we'll have a warrant article on town meeting to use some undesignated fund balances to help us pay for the reval. It's likely that the reval will come in somewhere between $100,000 and $140-ish. It's kind of hard to tell. The last one that we're aware of was in Stockton, and that was in the $90,000 range. But they don't have personal property to deal with, and we do. So that's going to add a dimension to it that's going to cost a little bit more money. I think for the most part we'll be okay. Had we went to reval 10 years ago, we probably would have seen an increase in the mill rate because the market was so depressed. There were no sales. I think I've read that there was somewhere near 20 to 30% drop in reval. We all lost. We're rebounded. We're not back to where we were. We're not the stock market. We don't come back immediately. But housing has been selling. These past 2 years have been kind of strong. There's been some new houses built. There's some there's some value in Searsport to still capture. So I think for the most part, most of us, unless we built a shed or a garage that we didn't get a building permit for, or a deck, we're probably going to make out okay. They are going to go out, a company will go and they'll measure everything and they'll come back with a complete report. The other dimension that we're looking for is to bring us up to speed with the Trio system. We're right now doing all our assessing by paper card. We're not going to do away with the paper card. It's very valuable, but we're not using the power of the program that we have with Trio. We're not able to access all those all the work that can be done with it. So what I'm looking for is authorization from the board to move forward with a request for proposal to be issued in either late January, early February. Make the date so that the return is right near town meeting. We'll have a decision whether the town wants to move forward with funding it, and if they don't, we're probably looking at the need to have a borrowing. And I don't think the people of Searsport want to borrow money to do the reval when we have it in the bank. So, but we do have to ask their authorization for using that money, because that's money we drew down from the retirement fund. I wish I could call it something different. It's not required to be in retirement. It's our money. The state was holding it, and we just, that's where the source came from. We kept it as cash in the bank, and it's making money for us, but it's not making a lot compared to what we'd have to pay for interest. It's better to use it on something that's required than anything else. We did get authorization a few years ago to use it to rebuild the wharf. We put that up, did the project, and got a reimbursement from the state of over $275,000 because of the grant monies that we put in for it. But so there's $460,000 in that account, and I'd be in a warrant article probably looking to spend up to $130,000. We currently have $27,000 in a reserve account, so we've been putting some money away towards it. But certainly, with cost of them, not nearly enough.
Board, you've heard the town manager's recommendation. What's your wish?
Do you want that to specify where the money's coming from, the pension
can't.
fund?
No, we can't. We're going to put a warrant, when you
Okay.
have your warrant approved, you're going to put forth to the taxpayers. Now, when we get to putting the warrant together, if the board gets a lot of feedback from people saying, we don't want to go that route, we could always turn it into a borrowing and have a warrant article that borrows. But I don't think you're going to get many people call you on this one. This is money we have to spend, and it's really the time to spend it for two reasons. We need to come up to speed. Our accounts are off. But beyond that, we're starting with a new assessor, and that new assessor is going to be on the ground floor of this reval. And it's going to be really good for us as an exercise right now, as opposed to, an ongoing assessor that just, started with new numbers. We're starting with the new assessor too.
Jim, question. Do you have an idea of how many vendors are out there that would be bidders?
I know, I've been told there's at least 3. So,
Be happy to make a motion. Make a motion, we approve the RFP to be sent out, as written, to be sent out by, after January 15th. Let's do it, James.
yeah, that's fine.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion been made and seconded to authorize the town manager to put out the RFP for reevaluation sometime after the 15th of this month. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 4-0. Item 8, 11th hour.
Yeah, we may not need a workshop if we could get through the budget in one showing, but I think it's wise to schedule a workshop. I know the Budget Advisory Committee is really anxious to get going on it. They're not going to meet this week, they are going to meet the 12th. I will give them whatever we complete tonight, and if we have to carry it to workshop, the remainder of it when we're done with workshop. But I would hope that we could get a workshop in on the 10th, January 10th, next Tuesday.
That date's okay with me.
Yep.
Okay with me.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion, we schedule a workshop for January the 10th at 6:30.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to schedule a workshop to discuss budget on Tuesday, January 10th. Any discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Correspondence.
I have only two pieces of correspondence for you. The first is a memorandum that came out from Maine Municipal Association in relation to recreational marijuana laws. And George and I have been talking about this. There's been a lot of things being coming forward in this arena, but until the vote was finalized, the governor sent that certification to the Secretary of State's office today. Then rules have to be built. There's still a long ways to go, but the good thing for us is we didn't have a knee-jerk reaction and go for a moratorium on recreational marijuana in November, back like some of the municipalities and cities have done, because you can only renew a moratorium once. It's 180 days, and if you're working towards the solution, you can extend it for another 180 days by municipal vote. If we have a warrant article for the town meeting, we would basically have a year to get the right set of rules into our land use, so that next March, March of 18, we will be prepared for sliding in the rules for marijuana retail, and this is what explains it for us. So, and you still have options for your warrant. A moratorium delays and gives us breathing room to make up a set of rules. You still could put forth a warrant article that prohibits, but that's a discussion for further down the workshop.
Would that would be something we could do for this coming town meeting or during the moratorium period? If we wanted to
This
put-
coming town meeting, the warrant is your warrant to bring forth to the voters. So you could have either or both.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if we could put both options on the warrant.
Yeah, and we'll discuss the merits of that when we start
Okay.
doing the warrant work, and that's coming up very soon. The second item is from Ransom Consulting, and it's basically informing the town of Searsport that Mr. Stevenson down on 16 Birch Lane has put in a permit, a NERPA permit with the DEP, and that's to put some riprap on the embankment in front of his house. He's a waterfront property over on Birch Lane. I only gave you the cover sheet. If you're interested in the actual application, I have that too. And anyone listening, if they want to see his application, it's public information, so it's pretty detailed. That's all I have in correspondence.
If that's a seawall,
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Item 10, treasurer's warrants. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion, we approve the warrants as submitted.
second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the warrants upon signature. Any discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. James, your report.
I'll try to be quick. December was busy for the public works crew. They were called out for several storms. Many of their responses involved ice and followed by snow. They're very difficult to deal with. There have been relatively few equipment issues this season. We did damage one personal vehicle, with a plow wing last month. Our insurance is taking care of it, but because of this, we are not plowing around vehicles parked on the side of the roadway from now on. We will run the vehicle license plates. If the owner is not readily available, the vehicle will be towed off. No significant news from wastewater or the library. The ambulance responded to 55 calls for service in December. This service responded to 615 calls in 2016, which is 95 more than in 2015. That includes 37 interfacility transfers and 16 paramedic intercepts. The EMT class is finished and everyone passed. They're now waiting to take the state licensing test, and both ambulances are running good. The fire department responded to 13 calls for service and issued 30 burn permits in December. During a structure fire last month, 2 of the fire engines failed. The ball valves on the engines were leaking, this caused water to accumulate in the outlet pipes. The water froze at the scene. The chief reports that both vehicles have been repaired and are back in service now. No significant news from code enforcement. The police department responded to 203 calls for service during the month of December. The 2009 Cruiser is out of service with starter and computer issues. The other vehicles are up to date on service and running well. The police department wants to relay that there is an overnight parking ban per ordinance for the downtown area. Officer Mushraw attended training on roadside impairment relating to the use of marijuana. In EMA, and I really wanted to stress this one, Bud couldn't be here tonight, but Bud Rivers wanted to include information this month about GAC Chemical's VRAP program, since there have been some questions about it. He called David Coulter at GAC for the latest update and to see if there's any information available on the state DEP website. There is no information available on the DEP website yet, as GAC has 2 years to complete their assessment of effectiveness report and submit paperwork to the DEP for final approval. They do want to let us know that the construction phase of the project is complete. This summer produced very little rain to filter through the project and reach the shoreline. Once the water does pass through the limestone and onto the shore, the pH levels will decrease. Bud will report additional information come this spring. Of course, the snow and everything we're getting right now is beneficial to that program. In recreation, the basketball season ran very smoothly. I do not have a specific plan for replacing Carey. The Board of Selectmen will discuss that in the budget process. In economic development, Dean Bennett and I visited several departments of the Maine Department of Transportation last month. We received an update on the downtown rebuild project. He will serve as liaison with the businesses and the DOT if needed. He has been working with MDOT to encourage a small cruise ship visit this summer. He is now working with a couple of business developers who are interested in Searsport. Dean is working on an ad to be submitted to the Maine Biz magazine and is updating our ad for the annual Maine Economic Development magazine. He's also working on setting up some small business training in Searsport. We hope to get that in the spring. The year-end process went well at the town hall. Our auditors will be here this month. The planning board will be holding a public hearing on January 23rd at 6:30 here, with a snow date of January 30, to take public comments on changes to the shoreline zoning, subdivision, and land use ordinances, as well as the repeal of the Half Moon Pond watershed ordinance. That's it.
Thank you, Jim.
Question on the Public Works report, that they're referring to illegally parked vehicles, right?
Parked within the right-of-way. So even if you are on the edge of your property, if you're in the right-of-way of the road, you need to be moved.
Okay.
We're going to try our best to get them moved. As we know, the police are going to do what they can, but in the end, we're going to tow the car because we're not hitting another car.
Oh.
It's almost impossible to see the very tip of that wing as you go by. And we caught somebody's car last month, and we did some damage, and we just can't have that. We're not driving around the vehicles. So we're going to have to be pretty vigilant about that.
Okay, but we will attempt to contact them.
We will. If they're easy to find, or we know who they are. We had one last night downtown. We tried. I think the car didn't come back registered. Was it registered to someone?
It was. We've had two in the last 4 days.
Yeah. But in the end, we couldn't find. Downtown's hard anyway, because most of the people that live there know. It's the people that, park and leave with someone else, or for some reason leave their vehicle. But we have to plow. That's a public safety issue.
When I did my press release today for the Journal, I re-emphasized that the ordinance was in effect, and it was the responsibility of the car owner, vehicle owner, to watch the weather. We've been very lax, if you will, and respectful. We've had the last 2 years, we've had really, really good weather, and we've allowed parking when it would actually be in violation of the ordinance. So we now ask the public to adhere to the ordinance so that we don't have to tow vehicles.
Item 13, open to public and the viewing public, call anything? No executive session.
Correct.
I'll take a motion to go from our regular agenda then to budget workshop.
Well, I think we're going to simply adjourn, and we'll go into workshop.
Okay.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, second to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor? 4-0.